Hey guys, it's Kevin again, finally here to review the highly anticipated adaptation from Greta Gerwig of Little Women. And what Little Women is essentially about, for those of you that don't really know, basically we center on the March sisters, and normally it's about them sort of growing into adulthood and them following them as adults. However, this film kind of turns it on its head, where we do see them as teenagers, you know, going about their lives and discovering themselves, but we also get to see them more as adults when they are more aware of what they want to be, if they've become successful, if they've been able to achieve their dreams, and also them coming back together after a devastating basically after a devastating revelation has taken place in the family, and that's really all I'm going to say. So, Little Women, yeah, I know this review's very late. I know you guys probably would have expected this review 2 weeks ago, and truthfully, I know that it's late, and I apologize for the fact that it's late, but let me explain what happened. So, if you guys remember, in my Uncut Gems review, I stated that Auburn Wonder and I had one more movie review to do. It was supposed to be this movie. We had it all planned out. You know, we didn't have time to record it at his house. We were going to do it on StreamYard and things like that. But as you guys know, it took forever for me to get this webcam back. It took like over a week, and by the time it was back, he was just not in the mood to review it anymore. Not because he didn't love the movie, because he absolutely did like the movie a lot, even loved it, but he just was not in the mood to really film the review, which I can understand. It's been over 2 weeks and things like that, so he just told me to do it on my own, which is why that's essentially what I'm doing. That's why I'm here by myself. I wish that I could have reviewed it with him, because I know how much he loves this movie, but unfortunately, that's not the case. But with that out of the way, this was easily one of my most anticipated films, not just of the last half of 2019, but of the year overall. This was a film that, you know, just knowing that Greta Gerwig had another film come out, and she was going to re-team with Saoirse Ronan, as well as this just incredible cast overall, I thought this had tons of potential. It looked like it was going to be a very heartbreaking, but also heartwarming film that was really going to touch my heart. And you guys know I adored her previous film, Lady Bird. I think it is one of the best coming-of-age films of the last decade for sure, and I was excited to see what she was going to do here, and it absolutely did not disappoint. I adore pretty much everything about this film. I think this is the definition of taking a classic work and still being able to do something new and fresh with it, and that's exactly what Gerwig did here. It's kind of similar to what Bradley Cooper was able to do with A Star is Born last year, and that's something I really adore about this film, amongst a bevy of other things. We're just getting to right now, starting off with the cast. And look, like I said, going into this movie, I think that's going to be one of the absolute biggest draws for sure. I mean, this is easily one of the biggest casts of last year. So many talented actors in here, and they absolutely do not disappoint. And Saoirse Ronan especially, oh my god, just continuing to show how I truly do think she's one of the best actresses working today, because she's able to take a character like Jo March, who is very much an icon in that way, someone that I know a lot of teenage girls have looked up to for years, and she's supposed to be a role model, and she takes her own spin on the character, really makes this character her own, and brings something different to her, and I absolutely love what she did here, because Jo is the kind of woman that you just would not find in that time period, and Ronan did such a great job understanding just how progressive and just how idealistic Jo really was, and I think she did a really great job with that. And yes, she does have that amazing scene that you did see in the trailer, and she did some amazing work there, but I think it's the quieter moments of Jo, just seeing her go about her life, seeing her with the certain choices she's made, and also seeing her with her relation with her sisters. That's what really sticks out to me, and that's why Ronan's one of the best actresses working today, because she's so good with just visual acting, ways that she's able to, you know, show her emotions without any dialogue. And she does have, obviously, a lot of dialogue in this movie, but the scenes that really stuck out to me, besides those, are the ones where we really do get to see what Jo is thinking in that moment, and you can really understand that because of Ronan's acting here. And again, just continuing to show why she's one of the best actresses working today, and absolutely should be nominated for the Oscars. I know nominations are coming very soon, and she definitely should be in the conversation for sure, because she was fucking phenomenal here. However, as good as Ronan is, this film absolutely belongs to Florence Pugh, who, can I just say, what a hell of a year this woman has had. I mean, she started off being in Fighting With My Family, a film that absolutely surprised me, and she was the big standout of that. Then she gave this absolutely just heartbreaking and just shattering performance in Midsummer, and she did some amazing stuff there. But her work in Little Women might just be her most impressive performance yet. I don't know if it's as good as a performance as what she did in Midsummer, but it certainly comes pretty damn close, because what she has to do here is really hard to pull off. She's actually doing the same thing that Kathryn Newton did in the miniseries of Little Women last year. The difference is that Pugh really transforms herself into this role. She plays the 14-year-old, bratty, and very, you can tell, naive version of Amy, but then she plays the Amy that is far more independent, an Amy that's a little bit more hopeful about things, but she also is very regretful of certain choices she's made, and really makes Amy, I think, the best character in this entire film. I actually end up like Amy maybe more than I did Joe, just because of how good Pugh really was here, and seeing her go from this more, like I said, kid sort of character to someone who is a far more mature woman is very hard to pull off, especially since Florence Pugh is 23 years old. It's not easy to portray playing someone that's a lot younger, but she absolutely nails it here and gives one of her best performances and absolutely should be in the conversation for Best Supporting Actress. Every single scene she absolutely steals. There are scenes where she's absolutely hysterical, but there are also scenes where she is really emotional, and you really do feel for her in that moment, and I thought she just did some amazing work here, and again, it's just continuing to show why she is definitely one to watch out for. I cannot wait to see what she's going to do in Black Widow next year. I might not think that film is very necessary, but I'm looking forward to it just for her performance alone, because if this year is any indication, oh my god, we have a real star in her hands, and I just cannot wait to see what she's going to do there. Now, as far as the other two sisters go, Eliza Scanlen and Emma Watson, they're both really good for what they have. Eliza Scanlen is definitely the most restrained performance, but that's because of the character she's playing. It's not because they don't give her enough to do. Beth is just far more calm and quiet and reserved in that way, and that's why I think her performance really worked for me. And I've loved Eliza Scanlen since Sharp Objects. I love that she got more attention here, and I think her performance is a little bit overlooked because of that, because people aren't really thinking about how good she is in this movie, but she does a really great job here. And then Emma Watson, does she struggle at some points? Yes, but I think she did the best with what she did have, and I think definitely she did a really good job here. I know a lot of people like to pick on Emma Watson. I myself have picked on Emma Watson before, but I thought that she was really good in this movie, and I thought the chemistry between these four especially just anchors the entire film. They all work so well together. They have such undeniable chemistry, and it's definitely one of the best things about this movie for sure. Everyone is just absolutely on their A game here, and the four sisters especially are amazing. But in terms of the supporting cast, there's also some really big standouts. Timothée Chalamet, I mean, you put him in anything, he's most likely going to be a big standout, but what he's able to do to the character of Laurie, again, similar to Ronan and Pugh, really making this character feel like his own, bringing new life to the character. I just thought he did such a great job here, showing someone that is so carefree, and someone who is so again, he's very lackadaisical in that way. That's very much the kind of character that Laurie is, and he's also someone that is just endlessly whimsical and things like that, and he's just someone that you really do enjoy watching, and Chalamet just really embodies the charisma and the fun of this character, and I think really had great chemistry with everyone, but especially with Florence Pugh. I mean, those two, they did such a great job handling that relationship, and I thought he did such a great job. I think he had just as good chemistry with her as he did with Saoirse Ronan, and we already know that those two have really good chemistry because of Lady Bird. Obviously, here he's playing a much more sound character than that of Lady Bird, but considering that we already know the great chemistry they had in that, to see him work just as well with Pugh, it really just shows how great of an actor he is here, and he really nails this role, I think. In terms of other performances like Laura Dern and Meryl Streep, still really good in the movie. Meryl Streep was in it more than I was expecting, for sure. I thought that she definitely did do a really good job, and Laura Dern here is fantastic. If I had to pick the two films that she's in this year, Marriage Story or Little Women, I honestly might pick Little Women because there's a lot of hardship that this character is going through. She is a mother that doesn't know if her husband is alive, and she has to do what she can to try to keep her girls in the best spirit possible and always trying to motivate them. And even though, yes, it's a quieter performance, I think it just sticks out more than that of Marriage Story because it's a different kind of role than what you would expect Dern to have, and I thought she did an excellent job in this film. I was very impressed by her here. Chris Cooper's great here, Louis Garrell, Bob Odenkirk for what he has does a great job. Everyone really is just fantastic in this cast. I can't really think of one weak link here. Nobody sticks out to me as like, oh yeah, they're not good. Like, everyone gives such incredible performances. Everyone just completely soaks into these roles, and I thought everyone just did such an amazing job here. However, like I said, even though I do feel that the acting is one of the things that makes this film as good as it is Gerwig's absolute passionate directing that really just makes this film something so great. And I do think years from now, it could end up being the ideal adaptation of Little Women. I know a lot of people love the Winona Ryder one. I unfortunately was not able to watch any adaptation of Little Women prior to this. I was going to try to do that. But I have to say, watching Gerwig's vision here, I don't really feel like I need to watch any other adaptation because I feel like she got it down so well. She really understood the source material here of, like, these four girls that are very, like I said, idealistic, and they have very specific goals, but not all of them are in that way. And yes, the film is a lot of fun, and I think Gerwig did a really good job with that, and I think these dramatic aspects she handled very well here too, but you can really just see her vision throughout this entire film, and especially the way she decides to structure it is radically different than any other adaptation we've had because it's very non-linear in that way. And I think it was a brilliant idea because in doing so, it makes a lot of the storylines that might have come off as rushed or might have come off as weird, makes them work a lot better here. And a lot of that really is due to her directing, and I think she did a really great job with that. And look, I know people are saying that there's some really great directors this year, but I truly do think it is a crime that Greta Gerwig has not been recognized more. And I really do hope that she is nominated at the Oscars because I truly do think she is one of the best directors working today. She's someone who just understands this kind of story so well, and I just can't wait to see what she's going to do next. I know she's doing the Barbie movie next year, which is really weird for sure. I mean, I would never expect for the Barbie movie to be helmed by Greta Gerwig and Noah fucking Baumbach, but that's what's happening next year, and I hope that it's really great because I have a lot of faith in her, and moving forward, any movie that she gets her hands on, I'm going to be there day one because I think she's just one of the best directors working today, but it's her screenplay that is even better in this film because, again, the way she's able to tell this story, but also use, I think, that nonlinear structure as a crutch to make certain choices work a lot better. For example, for years, and I can't personally agree with this because I've just heard a lot of people say it, but for years, people have really disliked where they go with the Amy and Laurie storyline. They don't buy into their relationship. They don't buy into the fact that these two do have some, romance and things like that. It just feels forced. It feels like he's just kind of with her because he can't have, Joe in that way. But the film does a lot, especially with the beginning of the film, a lot of it focusing on the older Amy, who has started to take an interest in Laurie, and we also flash back to when Amy clearly had a crush on Laurie, and how Laurie's always kind of liked her in the same way, and it makes it feel a lot more natural. You can see why these two would like each other. You can see why they have this fantastic chemistry and why they would end up together. It's not just because he can't be with Joe. In fact, I think the film is trying to say it's in spite of that, really. Like, he's with Amy because they had this connection that him and Joe just don't. And that's something I think the film does such a great job with, is really leaning heavily into that relationship. And I thought that was really well done here. But then focusing on Joe as a character, that character is so well written here, and it's mainly because of what Gerwig decides to do with her. She doesn't just make Joe this tomboy, as a lot of the adaptations have, as I've heard. She makes Joe someone who's independent, but someone who has a very specific way of looking at life. Jo isn't someone who just doesn't want to get married. Like, that's not what it is for her. It's that she's focused on things other than marriage, and contrasting that to how other girls of that time were looking at life. That's all they were thinking about. And Jo feels there's a lot more out there besides that. There's a lot more opportunity. She's serious about becoming a writer. She really is there, wants to be there to provide for her sisters, but she also has her own hopes and dreams. And so romance is just not something that she's really focused on. That's one of my favorite things about this movie, is its message of women are good for way more than just being wives to their husbands. Like, there's way more for them to do besides that. And that's actually something that I heard that the author very much agreed with. That was one of her original intents of writing the book. So you can tell that Gerwig really really respects the source material in the way. And I always love seeing that. I love seeing a director that really not just understands, but respects the source material. And that's something that Gerwig absolutely demonstrates here. But also what the film has to say about women's roles in the 1800s. You can see that it was very limited. Like I said, Jo wants to become a writer, but nobody's really taking her all that seriously besides her sister. A really great subplot involves Tracey Letts and how he's just kind of scoffing at what she's doing. Doesn't believe that this can actually work out. Doesn't believe that this novel can be successful. And from what I understand, it's actually a direct parallel to what the original author, Louise Mary Alcott, struggled with when writing this book. And I think that's a really good choice, the fact that Gerwig was trying to honor her in that way, because she wanted the film to be she wanted the book to be far more independent, but they made her write in all of this romantic stuff, which she wasn't really into. And I think paralleling that with what Jo is struggling with in the present was such a brilliant choice. And it's things like that that really make Gerwig's writing stick out to me here. It's quite great for sure. And yeah, obviously that scene is very much a good demonstration of that, but I think the other characters really lean into that pretty heavily as well. Gerwig is much more concerned with who these characters are and not just who they end up with. Yes, Amy and Laurie, that's definitely a big storyline, but she's far more focused on what does Amy want to do, because, earlier in the movie, Amy's very mischievous. She's playing all these various pranks, just doing stuff that 14-year-old girls would do. She doesn't take life very seriously. She is very often jealous of Jo, but they do it in a way where you can understand where Amy is coming from. She has dreams for herself, and she wants to believe that she's good for more than just being a wife to someone. She wants more in life than just that. And that's something that she's very much learned from Jo, and that's something that's very much carried over. And especially that scene you saw in the trailer where she talks about how she believes that women have far more power than that, and that women are, there's a lot more to them than just being subservient to some man. Like, there's a lot more going on there. And I think that's a really well done story for sure. And I think they lean into that pretty well. But again, it's really the focus they put on her character, and that you can understand why she really feels the way that she does. And I think they do a great job with that. And then Beth as a character as well. They really focus on her getting into piano, how she loves playing the piano, and how this is something that just absolutely brings her joy. So again, the film does a really good job with getting you to understand these characters and then putting them in these romantic situations. It's far more focused on that, and I think that's what really makes this film work, but also flashing back to who they used to be, how certain storylines are coming together in that way. I mean, for example, like I said, early on, we'll see Amy, and she's, clearly trying to flirt with Laurie, but he doesn't reciprocate it, and then going to the present where it's actually kind of reversed, where Amy doesn't have as much of an interest in Laurie, and Laurie's trying to woo her over in that way, but it also is them just getting a lot closer and developing this genuine relationship, and I think the film really does an excellent job with that here, and that's definitely one of my favorite things about this film for sure. The screenplay here is just so good. There's so many things I love about it. There are points where it is a joy to watch, especially in the flashbacks. There's some really hysterical scenes, and I think that was something they handled very well, but the emotion especially, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for people that haven't seen this movie, but a certain direction they take, even though I knew it was going to happen, it was still extremely effective. And it honestly, I didn't cry, but it definitely did get to me. And I thought it was handled perfectly. I really don't think they could have done it any better than what they did here. And again, considering this is the 5th adaptation of this story, the fact that Gerwig was still able to make that work and not come across as obvious, I think is a real testament to how good her screenplay really is here. Every character really feels like their own. Even characters like Aunt March, for example, someone who could come across very cartoony, you get the sense that this is just who she is. She's fine with the fact that she's rich. She's fine with the fact that there isn't much going on in her life. She likes that. She likes that lifestyle, and she doesn't understand why other people are like that. The film isn't trying to villainize anyone. The film isn't trying to come down on anyone. It's just showing where everyone's headspace is and what they're really thinking about in that time, and I think that was something that was so well done here, is Gerwig's just absolutely stellar writing here. The cinematography here, though, is also a absolute marvel to behold. The contrast between the flashbacks and the present-day scenes are a lot better than a lot of people are saying. I've heard many people say the movie's very confusing because they'll jump back and forth, and I would very much disagree. I think, are there a couple times where it's a little hard to decipher? Yes, but for the most part, I think they do a really good job in showing this is the present and this is the past. Everything in the present, it's very lavish, it's very colorful, and it's kind of representing that hope and that joy that's within them, this very just fun lifestyle that they have. Whereas the present day, it's not dark to the point where it's grayscale, but it's a little bit dimmer because things are more realistic now. These girls are a lot older. They've gone on to live their lives. They've had a considerable amount of time apart from each other. So I thought that was a really brilliant choice. And definitely this film has some of the best cinematography of last year. There's so many just gorgeous shots here that are, even after seeing the movie 2 weeks ago, they're still very much in my mind for sure. And I think they've done an excellent job with that. And the score here by Alexander Desplat, I mean, you expect it to be great because he's one of the best composers working today, for sure, but he pours so much emotion and heart into this, and it just gives it a sense of life, a sense of purpose, a sense of warmth, and I just really loved his compositions here. I thought he did some really great work, and the editing, like I said, I think that's the thing that is going to throw some people off, is how it jumps back and forth, but it's not so rapidly to the point where we're not getting enough of the other. We honestly get just as much in the present as we do in the past, and I thought that was a really brilliant choice, because from what I understand, the majority of this story takes place in the past, so I think the case to have it so it's a little more even-headed, I think was a really good choice. And there's a lot of things, like I said, that people have not liked about the story that this film addresses and makes it work a lot better than it was, and that's something I really did appreciate for sure. So again, there's a lot I'm really loving about this movie. I'm really praising it. So is there anything that brings it down? Well, the only flaw that I do have with Little Women, and it isn't even really a big one, it's just Meg's storyline. And I do like the character of Meg a lot. They established very early on that she has a far more traditional mindset. She wants to be married, and that's kind of it. She doesn't really have much else of a plan. And that's not my problem. I like the character a lot. I thought Emma Watson, like I said, did a really good job. My problem is more just the storyline that she was involved in. I just did not think was as interesting as everything else going on. And I don't think they gave it the necessary deliverance that they gave to the other storylines. I think they need to put a little bit more in there to make it interesting, because her storyline is just far more simplistic than everyone else's, and I just wish there was a little more going on. Again, I was never bored by it, but it's just one of those things where I was just kind of like, I like what they're doing, but this storyline is just not as good as the others. But other than that, this pretty much lived up to my expectations in every conceivable way possible, with a star-studded cast, a beautiful score, some amazing writing from both, amazing directing and writing from Greta Gerwig, who continues to show why she's one of the best directors working today. An amazing performance, like I said, from both Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh, especially, who I think anchors the entire movie. a different structure with it being non-linear and things like that really make Little Women stick out as one of the best films, I think, of the entire year. And I'm absolutely going to give Little Women overall an A. So overall, guys, in my review of Little Women, I really hope this was worth the wait, guys. I wanted to put out this review for a while, but I just did not have the time to do so because I've been so behind on YouTube videos lately. But I do have a couple more movie reviews to do, and then my best list will definitely be out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.